Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, I shall say, everybody in Europe, and probably good morning to our partners in North America. And if we have anybody from Asia, then very late good evening to you guys as well. So today we have our regular monthly1ClickFactory self-provisioning for NAV Business Central webinar. Well, today we have not two as usual presenters, but all three, so including myself. My name is Rimvidas. I am Cloud Business Line Manager at 1ClickFactory. Together with me, as usual, I have Giedrius, who is our Senior Cloud Service Specialist, and as well we have a special guest today, Žygimantas Velička, who is our Cloud Service Consultant, who will demo you the very interesting theme that you have been requesting recently. So let's move on. So as usual, our webinar is on the second Wednesday each month. So the next webinar will be second Wednesday of June, June 10th, the same time. You can see the webinar registration website link in here, so you can actually register already to the June's webinar. So today, as usual, our webinar is interactive one. While we will be presenting the content, you are very much encouraged to go and ask questions on in a chat box that is shown on the screen. So the GoToWebinar platform allows you to ask questions. We will be taking questions either instantly or we will be taking them at the end of the session. Depends on the question and depends on the theme that we will be presenting. So what is in today's agenda? As usual, we will be presenting what's new. So what are the new features we have implemented during our the last month? So which are the new features over there? There's one that is pretty interesting for you, I'm pretty sure. And then Žygimantas will present his hands-on of the migration from SaaS to on-premise and single-tenant architecture. We have been receiving a few inquiries from you guys recently, so we decided that we could share this knowledge with all of you to help your lives and improve your knowledge in there. As well, we'll definitely present what's in the lab, what are we cooking for the future releases, and we'll finish with, as usual, with your questions and answers. So with that, I think I pass the mic to Giedrius. Giedrius, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Rimvidas. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Yeah, so let's move on to what's new. First of all, yeah, we like to brag about it here. So yeah, we've got our official certificate from Certica. It's the certification body that certified us, well, actually our ISMS for ISO 27001. So yeah, we have the logo. So we are completely certified there. One more thing that we have implemented, and I believe you saw it in the notifications, in the dashboard notifications. So we implemented automated start of server instances in case we detect that those are stopped. It is also related to the last feature, the maintenance mode, that I will talk to you a little bit later. We have also implemented the NAV and Business Central cumulative updates, the latest ones. CU1 of Business Central 16 has been released only yesterday, so yeah, we haven't implemented it on the platform yet, but definitely the team will be working to implement it as soon as possible. There are quite a few fixes in the new cumulative update. Yep, and the maintenance mode, the last one. So yeah, maybe I'll switch to another slide. So what is it? What it is? So basically, it is for you to enable a sort of maintenance mode for your single tenant instance or multi-tenant instance, or even application server when you are performing some sort of, let's say, application updates, when you are implementing code changes, or things like that. When you need to stop server instances, but you know that you will be doing that. So basically, when it is planned, you can enable maintenance mode, and once the maintenance mode is enabled, we will not try to auto start the stopped instances. If you are enabling the maintenance mode for the application server, then it means that for all of the instances, we will not be trying to start the instances. If you are let's say enabling enabling maintenance mode for single tenant instance, then it means that we will not be trying to start that instance. We will not be trying to basically to troubleshoot the issues. We will also not be contacting you about the stopped instance. So how do you enable the maintenance mode? Let me switch to the portal. It's very easy. It depends on the object that you want to enable maintenance mode for. Let's say I want to enable maintenance mode for my single tenant installation. Then I just need to click on the gear icon here, on the action icon, and enable maintenance mode. You are presented with some, let's say, explanation what it is. You will also be presented with explanation that the time when the instance will be in maintenance mode will not be calculated for the SLA. So if you are sure that you need to enable the maintenance mode, you can hit on yes, continue, and that's it. The same is to disable the maintenance mode once your work is done. Instead of the enable button, disable button will be here. So you just need to disable the maintenance mode. It is similar for the application servers. You need to just click on the gear icon and enable maintenance mode here. And it is also similar for multi-tenant installations. I don't have multi-tenant installation for the moment, so it is not listed here, but basically, it's the same action to enable maintenance mode. Okay, so just to quickly remind that if the instances or the application server is in maintenance mode, we will not be trying to auto start it. Otherwise, we will try to auto start it, or if it will not be auto started, we will be trying to let's say troubleshoot it as fast as possible. One more thing to note is that once the instance is in the maintenance mode, most of the portal actions will be blocked, so you will not be able to, let's say, add new users to such an instance and so on and so forth, because we don't know, maybe you have stopped the instance and we will not be able to automatically add the users. Yep. So that's about it. And now to Žygimantas, who will be showing you how to quickly migrate from a SaaS database to on-premise database, to single tenant database, basically.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Žygimantas Velička. I'm the cloud service consultant at 1ClickFactory. As Giedrius mentioned, I will demonstrate how to migrate from SaaS to on-premise single tenant architecture. So let's just jump in. The prerequisites for this guide are the tenant database backup from Business Central SaaS, local installation of Dynamics Business Central that matches the major version of NCU of the tenant backup, and we will also need a Cronus demo database for this. And of course, we will need a local installation of a SQL Server. The downloaded backup will probably be in backpack format. You will have to restore this backup on the SQL Server. We will skip this step since you can find guides online on how to do just that. So when connected to the SQL Server, I now have the Business Central Cronus demo database and restored tenant database from SAS. First, we need to check if the collation of the application or demo database matches the collation of the tenant database. So let's check that. We can see that the collation of the demo database is Latin 1 Latin 1 general 100 case insensitive. So now let's check for tenant database. And the tenant database is Latin 1 general 100 case sensitive. So the application database collation must also be in the same collation. If the collations would match, we could skip this step, but now we need to create a separate empty application database. So let's do that. We will call it app database and set the collation. So I guess this one is. Yeah, this one. Okay. Okay, let's continue. So now we have to open a business administration shell as an administrator. And we will use two commandlets to finish importing the data to the new database. So the first commandlet is export nav data. We will run it. Notice that you only need to use parameters include application and include application data. So once this one will finish running, we will run the second one. Okay. So this next one is import the nav data. It imports the data from the file that we've created previously to the application database we have created just a few moments ago. So it will take some time importing the data. When the data finishes importing, we will need to merge the application database and the tenant database. There's an official Microsoft guide for doing that. And there are two scripts. We will use the second one. Just edit the parameters with values appropriate to your environment and paste it to the application shell. So let's check if the update was finished. Not yet. So let's wait a little bit. We can look at what steps will be next. So yeah, we will merge the databases, and then we will have to fix the data, the extension data in the merged database. Okay, it will finish soon. Okay, so let's run the script we have copied from the Microsoft site. So basically what this script does, it stops the server instance. Then it removes application tables from the tenant database if they have not already been removed. Then copies the application tables from the application database to the tenant database, reconfigures custom settings.config file, and starts the instance. So the instance was started. We have to fix the extension data now. So let's open the database, filter the tables. Okay, we can now see 3 tables that are important for us. So it's nav app installed app, and nav app published app. What we need to do now is to clear the nav app published app table. It is not necessary, but I would recommend doing that to prevent any issues in the future. Then remove any records from nav app installed app table that does not exist in the published app or nav app table. And finally, update the record fields in installed app table to match record fields in the nav app table. We can look at the data in this table, in the installed app table. Okay, so it most probably will be just package ID and version revision fields that we need to change, at least in our example, but you should just check yourself and make sure that these are the only fields you need to change. I will use a query for to do what I have described previously. This is the example of the query. So as I mentioned before, it deletes from the published app table, deletes from the installed app table records that do not exist in nav app table, and then updates the fields package ID and version revision. So let's execute this query. The record should be okay now. So let's go back to the administration shell and inject the license to the new database. It asks for a service restart. We will do that a little bit later. So now let's add ourselves as a user and set the permissions. Okay. And finally, we have to synchronize the tenant and restart the server instance. So it's synchronized. Now let's restart the instance. So while it restarts, let's look at what we've done so far. So we've restored SAS tenant backup on the SQL server, created the application database, merged SAS tenant database with the application database, fixed the extension data in the merged database, and now we are finalizing this procedure. So when the service will be running, it should happen in a few moments. We will be able to try and to connect to the web client. Okay, the service is running. So let's try to connect to the client. First time it will take a while. Yep, we are in. So I hope this guide was useful for you, and thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Žygimantas. So those were the steps: restoring the tenant database backup, creating the app database, merging the databases, fixing the extensions. I believe that is pretty important, and then doing some finalization. Also, yeah, Žygimantas has added the script code to the slides. So yeah, in the recorded video, you will be able to just maybe pause here and use the queries if it is necessary for you. Okay, let's move on. What's in the lab? So yeah, the things that we are working on, first of all, it's user replacement. It is the most voted idea on the portal, and we will be working on that in the upcoming weeks and months. Also, more and more partners are asking for portal roles, basically to be able to to limit, let's say, partner users to certain installations, so on and so forth. So yeah, we will be working on that as well. We are still thinking about the ways to how to simplify AL development environment setup. Actually, there are some, let's say, artifacts that you can already find that we have implemented on the virtual machines, on the application servers, but yeah, that's not finished yet. We want to make it as easy as possible. As always, security is our first priority, and we are constantly working on security improvements. Even if you don't see those improvements directly in the portal, it doesn't mean that we are not improving the backend of the platform. Also, we will be working on the help center improvements that we have presented, let's say, during the last webinar. So in case you do not know, our help center can be found here. Just click on the support menu item, and then there is, you need to choose the service. It's the self-provisioning for NAV or Business Central, and there are quite a few articles about different, let's say, questions that the partners have. And as I mentioned, we will be expanding this information. Good. Yeah, and also one more thing that we are thinking about, and most probably we will be implementing, is some special server types with more memory, with the same amount of CPUs, but with more memory, just to suit the partner needs better, because we see it more and more. We see it requested more and more frequently. As always, please suggest your ideas and don't forget to vote them on the portal. Just a quick reminder, if we're going to the self-provisioning portal, on the dashboard, there is a most popular feature request section, and you can suggest your idea here, or you can just click on more ideas and then vote for the ideas that are interesting to you. Okay, good. Moving on to the frequently asked questions. So yeah, one of the questions that we were getting more and more is what user account is needed to set up Office 365 authentication for an installation. So you need a global admin rights of the Office 365 subscription, or, well, actually it is Azure AD. Yeah, so you need global admin of Azure Active Directory. The user account is needed only for the time when you are doing the setup. While the setup is done, after that you can either remove the user account or change the password. We do not need it. We do not store it anywhere. If you need to add users, customer users to the installation, you don't need that account. So yeah, just remove that user account. It is not needed anymore after the setup is done. Of course, please make sure that the setup is finished before removing that user. Otherwise, yeah, we might be in trouble setting up that installation. Another question is also related to Office 365 authentication, and the question is, how do you add a partner user to the installation with Office 365? So actually, there are two options. I like option number one better, but you can do the option number two as well. So the first option is to just ask your customer to add user in their Office 365, or yeah, just Azure AD. It can be something like, I don't know, Business Central support, BC support, something like that. Yeah. The user does not need Office 365 license. It's just needs to be a user account in their Azure Active Directory. Then you need to add that user as a partner user, basically, on the portal, and then assign the necessary permissions for that user. So I believe that's an easier way. There's option number two. You can set up an additional server instance with username credential type. You would need to do that manually yourself on the server, and once the server instance is let's say, set up and running, you can create an endpoint if it is needed. If you are planning to just use the, let's say, the support user, the partner user from the virtual machine, if you don't need to access it externally, basically from public internet, then the endpoint is not needed. But if you need to access it from public internet, then you would need to create the endpoint for the client services port. Yeah. Also, you will need to update client user settings.config file to use username credential type instead of NAV user password credential type that we are using for Office 365 authentication by default. And then you would need to just assign the necessary permissions for the partner user. So if it is needed, you can set up the additional server instance. I believe option number 1 is a little bit easier. Okay, one more question that we were getting for the last week since the release of the new functionality is, why am I getting the notifications about potentially stopped instances? So yeah, as I've mentioned, we have released a new functionality where we are detecting stopped instances. If we are not able to start those instances, we are notifying the partners. So yeah, you will be getting those if we would not be able to let's say, start the instances in a timely manner. You would be automatically getting those notifications. Once we detect that kind of instance, we will also be blocking portal actions. It means that, yeah, if the instance is stopped, you should not be able to add users and so on and so forth, because the actions would fail. So yeah, there's no need to do the additional, let's say, work. They're fixing those actions. So yeah, we will block those actions on the portal immediately. If you need to stop the instances, you can just enable the maintenance mode, and then we will not touch your server instances, basically. Yep. Good. A couple of questions for Rimvidas.
Yeah, so we are getting questions from our partners whether they can obtain our ISO certificate and basically show it to the customer if that is needed. So the question was, where can we find your ISO certificate? So we placed it on our website, so 1ClickFactory.com/ISO certificate. So you are welcome to go there and to download the PDF of our ISO certificate and present it to your customers or to your decision makers whenever is needed. So the certificate itself is a public one. We have basically nothing to hide. We just want to brag about that. So yeah, so that's the easy link where you can access the ISO certificate that we have. All right. Then the next one, well, obviously during those difficult times, some of the customers might be decreasing the number of users hosted with you and with us subsequently. And some of you were asking whether the minimum fee of 200 euros or 280 USD in USA applies to the customer or whether it applies to the application server. So the answer is pretty straightforward. It applies only to the private shared application server. Meaning if you have, as an example on the screen, 3 customers, out of which one is having 3 users, another one is 5 users, and the last one is 2 users, the minimum fee for this shared server is still 200 euros. So that's not the 200 euros per customer 1 and additional 200 users per customer 2 or additional 200 users for customer 3. No, if all of your customers are running on the same private application server, then the minimum fee is within there. So basically up to 10 users is within the minimum fee. It doesn't matter how many customers you run in that private shared application server. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so now it's time for Q&A, and I see we have a couple of questions in the chat box. Giedrius, can you take on those?
Yeah, gladly. So yeah, the first one was actually in almost the beginning of the webinar. What's the benefit of having the maintenance mode? So The biggest benefit is that we will not be starting your instance and we will not be troubling you. So if you are doing maintenance, if you are updating your objects, you need to stop the service, whatever it is. Yeah. So if the service has to be stopped, then you can just enable the maintenance mode and we will not trouble you until you finish your work. So that's, I would say, the biggest benefit.
Yeah, or otherwise we will be trying to restart the service, right?
Yes, definitely we will be trying to start the services. If we will fail, then the actions on the portal will also be blocked. So, yeah. And another question was, how do you get the target database? Yeah, that's actually a question most probably for Žygimantas, but I believe I can answer that. So the target database actually was in the one that Žygimantas was showing. So target database was basically the backpack file that you are taking from SAS, from Business Central online, and that you can download to your computer. So that target database is basically the tenant database from SAS. Hope that answers the question. And we don't have any other questions yet. So yeah, we are open for those.
Okay, it seems that we have answered. You have answered the question clearly, Giedrius. Then we want to remind you that our webinars are each month on a regular basis. So the next webinar is the second Wednesday of June, so June the 10th, same time. You can register as usual on the webinar website. So as usual, we will be presenting some interesting stuff. If you have any other questions, you are welcome to drop a mail to service@1ClickFactory.com to our service desk, and we'll answer whenever questions you may have. But for today, we would like to thank you all. Wish a pleasant evening or pleasant day for those who are in the different time zone. And most importantly, stay safe and stay healthy. See you next month, or we'll see you on our portal. But goodbye.